Can I cut my compact laminate worktop myself? And what tools do I need to use to make that happen? To begin with, all you need to use is standard hardwood cutting tools. What I have right here is a Festool plunge saw, 1200 watts. That's the minimum I would usually recommend. And in terms of saw blade, I'm using again a standard hardwood cutting saw blade with 48 teeth. The only thing you need to be extremely careful about is just make sure it's sharp, okay? Don't use an old blade, just take a new one and it will get the job done perfectly. I also have a jigsaw and a small router bit with the guide for my plunge saw as well. I will now demonstrate the cutting process, and also whilst I'm cutting with the plunge saw, it's very important to make sure we're controlling the amount of material we're cutting at each stage. We're first going to start off with only 2mm cuts to scratch the surface to make sure that we have a nice and clean cut on the very surface, and then we're going to continue with 3mm increments until we cut the entire surface.
So what I'm currently doing is I'm marking exactly where I'll be cutting my worktop, and I'm positioning my guide rail. After I clamp the rail down and make sure it's ready to go, I set my plunge saw cut depth to 2mm and I begin my first cut. The idea behind this shallow cut is to ensure there's no splintering or chipping on the surface where the worktop edge will be visible.
Şimdi artık the most important thing when cutting the compact laminate worktops is to achieve a clean and crisp cut on the very surface, as you can see here. No chips, just nice and clean.
After the cut, the next step is sanding and finishing the edges with 240 grit and a small chamfer. Just a quick note and a reminder here that you can sand the edges, but you cannot sand the surface of compact laminates, okay? And you cannot sand the surface.
That is just chopping board oil. You can use linseed oil as well, or even baby oil, in fact. It doesn't need to be anything special. Just dip it in and let's go.
Also, we get this question quite often: why do I need to oil the edges of my compact laminate worktops? Well, you only need to oil the edges after you finish polishing, sanding and beveling them to your liking, okay? And the sole idea is to make the color of the core pop out, and as you can see here, it makes a huge difference, and you only really need to do it once. And I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us, and I will see you on the next one.